So moving on to 8.6, learning one more shape for today, trapezoid. Area of a trapezoid, everyone write this down somewhere. It's height times base 1 plus base 2, all divided by 2. Okay, let's talk about those different pieces. On a trapezoid, how do you know which ones are the bases? Talked about it last chapter. How do you know? How do you know which ones are the bases?
In the middle.
How many bases are there? 2. How do you know which ones they are? They're on top of each other, right? They're on top of each other. What else do you know about them? We learned that they are parallel. They're not equal, but they're parallel to each other. Okay, but they're right on top of each other. Those bases are always going to be right on top of each other. Even if the trapezoid is flipped on its side, they're still going to be right on top of each other. Okay? The other part is the height. How do we know what the height is? What do we look for? Right angle. Yep, look for that right angle. That's where you know where the height is. Okay? So again, on that formula, plug in what you know. Okay, so we're looking for area. Following the formula, it wants h next. What's the height? 5. Once the base is next, what are my bases? 6 and 8, so we do 6 plus 8. And then don't forget it's all divided by 2. Now, a little bit of order of operations to follow. What do we need to do first?
Distribute.
Not distribute, because look what's inside your parentheses. Do parentheses first. So we do 6 plus 8. 14. Divide by 2. What's next?
35.
Multiply. What's 5 times 14?
70.
70. All divided by 2.
35.
And then we got to divide, so we get 35. What am I forgetting? Inches squared. Label. Yep. Inches squared. So the whole time I'm following order of operations to get my answer. Okay, parentheses, then multiply, then divide. 3 steps. Okay? Questions on that one? We're okay with where the bases are, where the height is? Okay, go ahead and try those next 3 on your notes. Try those next 3. Okay, on these 3, we're using the trapezoid area formula. What is it? Area equals? Height.
Base 1, base 2.
Times B1 plus B2. Divided by 2. Good, thank you. So, plug in what you know. We're looking for the area. So, what do we look for first? Height is 7. What do we look for next? Bases, 7 and 11. Last step, divide by 2. What's first step? Yep, add the bases together so we get 18 divided by 2. What's next? Multiply, what is it? 7 times 18? Thank you. 126 divided by 2. Last step. 66. It is 63. 63, and then what was I forgetting? Meters squared. Good. Don't forget that label. Okay, let's do one more of these. What about number 2? It looks a little different. Okay, but how do you know which one the height is? Right angle. Okay, so I have area equals, good, 14. Bases, 16 and 10, divided by 2. What do I do first?
26.
Yep.
14.
Good.
Equals
364.
divided by 2, 182.
You said 182. What am I forgetting?
Label.
Feet squared. Good.
Wait, should you always put squared?
If you're looking for area, always put squared. Yep, so if it's asking you for area, you need the squared on your label. Okay? Because when people talk about the area of a house, they talk about, oh, it's 1,500 square feet. They're talking about the area of the floor plan. Okay? That's why they have square feet. Okay? Questions? Do I need to do number 3, or are we okay following that formula? Good? Okay. We have to look at, some of you guessed it already, where we have a missing measure. Okay? So again, what have we been doing when we're missing measures? What do we use? We use the formula, right? Always resort to that formula. So again, I'm going to write that formula up here so we have something to follow. So as always, plug in what you know. Start at the left. Do we know the area? What is it? Okay, plug it in for A. H, do we know H? What is it? 8, good. Do we know the bases? One of them. So I'm going to put 1 plus X, or that 1 base plus X, 9 plus X, or you can put B, whatever you want. And then what am I forgetting? Divide that whole thing by 2. Now we just have to solve using algebra. Okay? What is my first step always when I have a big fraction like that?
Distribute. Oh,
Not yet. Multiply by what?
2.
Multiply by 2 to get rid of it. Good. What's 96 times 2?
Like 100 something. 70.
192. What do I have left on the right side?
Nothing.
Not.
Just the 8x.
What's on the top, right? I have 8 times 9 plus x. Okay, so when I get rid of that denominator, I just have the numerator left. Okay, now what do you think we do next?
Distribute.
We could distribute. There's something that will take less time if we don't distribute.
So it was easier.
How could I get rid of that 8?
Multiply.
It's multiplying right now, so I want to divide by 8 on both sides. What's 192 divided by 8? 24. So I have 24 equals, what's left on the right? 9 plus x, and then what's my last step to get x by itself? Subtract 9, yep. So I get x equals 15. Okay? If you would have distributed, that's fine. You would have just had 2 extra steps. I think this way is a little easier. Then you don't have to worry about a bunch of those different properties. Okay. So all I did was follow the formula. Is there any questions on those? Okay. Go ahead and try only 4 and 5. Do numbers 4 and 5 on this last page. So on these, remember, we're still using that formula. B1 plus B2 times the height divided by 2. Okay, so plug in what you know. Do we know A? What's A? 77. Do we know H? Nope. Do we know the bases? What are they? Good. And then what do I have to remember? Yep. What is my first step? Get rid of that fraction. Multiply by 2. So I get 154 equals, what do I have left on the right side? The whole top part, h times 8 plus 14. Okay. Order of operations, what do we look at first? Parentheses, add them together. Yep, I'm going to come up here. We have 154 equals, what's 8 plus 14? 22, and I still have h. Now what's my last step to get h by itself? Divide by 22. So I get h equals 7 feet. Yep. Good. Okay, number 5. Same thing. Plug in what you know. What do we know? Area is 39. Do we know the height? What is it? Yep. Do we know the bases? So how do I write it? Yep. Or you could have had 8 plus x. And then last part. Divided by 2. Good. What's your first step? Multiply by 2. What's 39 times 2? So we have 78 equals 6 times x plus 8. Yep, get rid of that. Divide by 6. What's 78 divided by 6? So I have 13 equals x plus 8. Last step. Subtract by 8. So what do we get for x? Yes. Good. 5 centimeters. Any questions on trapezoids? Biggest thing is this formula right here that I have on the board. Okay, use this formula.